Hi, I'm Suzette, a quality assurance engineer at Ocean, and today I'll show you how to set up workflows for Sitecore content editors. I'll show you how Sitecore workflows are implemented, what they are used for, how to move items through a workflow, and how to use the workbox in Sitecore. Let's get started. Workflows are a system that you can use in Sitecore to determine when a content item is published. A workflow is a series of states that you define. In the example we prepared for this demo, the workflow states correspond to draft, awaiting approval, approve. And the content items must go through all these states before they are published on the website. In Sitecore, you can implement any number of different workflows, but it is important to take into consideration that each workflow must contain at least two workflow states. One that is defined as the initial workflow state, and other one which is the final workflow state. Workflows are normally implemented by developers. However, it is useful for content authors to understand how they are constructed and implemented. A workflow consists of the main item that contains all the sub-items that make up the workflow, workflow states, the different stages in your content creation process, workflow commands, the actions that must be performed to move a content item from a workflow state to another, and workflow actions, actions that are automatically performed on the content items when they are in a particular workflow state or when a particular workflow command is executed. After the workflow has been defined, the developer specifies which items templates will be subject to the workflow. So, if we check in our sample item standard values, we'll see that the default workflow is our sample workflow. We are logging as an admin, so let's log off and log in using an editor account so I can show you how to create a content item from an editor's perspective. When you create a new content item, it will remain on the initial workflow state until you use a workflow command to send it to another state. To send a content item into the next workflow state, in the content editor, open the content item that you are working on just by clicking on it, and you can use the Edit button on the Home tab or go directly to the Review tab and check on the workflow group. As you can see, the workflow group displays a workflow command, Submit, and this is the only workflow command that you can apply to the current content item in its present workflow state. Furthermore, the content item also displays a message informing you that this version of the item cannot be published because it is not in the final workflow step, so click Submit to send the content item to the next workflow state. Sitecore displays a dialog box to enter a comment, and then the content item is moved to the next workflow state. The workflow commands that are available on the workflow group change to reflect the item's new status. However, if you don't have permission to edit the content item in this workflow state, you cannot log the item for editing and the workflow commands won't be displayed. Sitecore also contains a workbox that has been designed to give reviewers a greater overview of all the content items that are currently in workflows. So we are logging as an author. Let's log out and log in as a reviewer so I can show you how to use the workbox. Click the Sitecore Start button and then Workbox. In the workbox, you can see that the sample workflow has been selected and you can see all the relevant workflow states. You can also see that there is one content item in the awaiting approval workflow state. To preview the version of a content item that is in a workflow state, click Preview, and this version of the item is displayed in a new browser window. To open a content item, click on Open, and the item is opened in the content editor. To see the changes that have been made to a content item, click Div. The Compare Versions dialog box lets you see the changes that have been made to this version of the item. You can select which version you want to compare. We only have one, that's why we only see one on the drop-down. And whether you want them to display in one or 2 columns. When you are finished reviewing the content item, click Approve or Reject to move it to the proper workflow state. Enter a comment, and the item will be moved to the next workflow state. On this example, it will be published. That's a basic overview of Sitecore's workflows to give you an idea on how to set them up on your site and how they can be useful to your site's content editors. Visit www.coaching.com/Sitecore to get more Sitecore how-tos, tips and tricks, and to learn more about Ocean's Sitecore services.